Save the World Tour 2022 is coming to the Art Theater in Hobart on Friday, September 16th. Fozzy with special guest No Resolve and GFM, which stands for Gold, Frankincense, and Myrrh. I know that. See, I'm a little bit insider there. It's going to be a great time with Fozzy. On the line with me right now, Chris Jericho, whether you want to call him Lionheart or Y2J, Painmaker, Le Champion, or the Wizard himself. It is just good to talk to you again.
Yeah, man, it's always a pleasure to come through your neck of the woods and hang out with the fine people in South Bend and the surrounding areas. So it's going to be a great time.
Now, I know this is predominantly about Fozzy, but I have to talk about what we saw last Wednesday night on AEW Dynamite on TBS. There was a steel chair wrapped in barbed wire that came crashing down on the bridge of your nose, and I'm looking at you now. You have a broken nose. How are you feeling, number one? Number two, how is this affecting your skills as a frontman? Have you tried singing? I know you have some time to heal up, but are you a little concerned?
No, I mean, it's not like it's a smashed nose or it's like crunched or anything like that. So it should be okay in the next few weeks. And we don't have any gigs in the meantime. So if I did, it's a little bit tender. If you came up to me and flicked it like that, it might hurt a bit, but it's just kind of part of the job. It happens sometimes. And, thankfully it's not too bad, but I think when things like that happen, it's actually probably good for the pro wrestling business because it makes people realize it's not just all fun and games and you can actually get hurt. So when the leg of a steel chair comes down right on the bridge of your nose, pretty much tells the tale. So
do you hear from your bandmates immediately thereafter?
Rich was actually there because it was in Atlanta. Okay. So he was actually, he actually checked it out, but they're used to it at this point in time. It's what I've been doing, for the last 20 years that the band's been together is some weeks I'm wrestling and some weeks we're rocking. And I've had almost as bad injuries on stage. I mean, the first night of the Jericho cruise, the very first Jericho cruise, I was on stage jamming with the Ozzy Osbourne cover band, singing Crazy Train, and the guitar player whipped the neck of his guitar right into my face. So I had to go for stitches on the very first night on my very own cruise. So, it happens, man. Rock and roll is a dangerous game, as is pro wrestling.
I mean, really, with the stamina you must have to not only front a band, be in ring, host your own radio show podcast. Do you think a 25-year-old Chris Jericho would be able to handle the same responsibilities as present-day Chris Jericho?
I think so. I mean, I've always been, interested in doing many projects. That's the reason why I got into wrestling and music in the first place. That's back when I was a teenager is when I really became a fan of those, and I decided I wanted to do both and played both. So, I mean, I don't know if a 25-year-old Chris Jericho would think that a 51 Chris Jericho would be this busy or this successful. But I don't think that I wouldn't, so I just think I've taken everything as it comes. And, in 25, I was really, traveling the world as a pro wrestler in Japan and Mexico. And it was a great time in my life for that aspect of it, living in foreign countries. I lived in Mexico for 12 weeks and I was in Japan for 7 weeks straight and going back and forth. And it was a good time for that sort of a vibe. So my life was different then. I would never do that again now. So I think everything progresses the way it's supposed to.
And let's get back into Fozzy a little bit. Boombox available now. Everybody's loving it. I Still Burn is one of the most requested songs here on The Bear. How are you receiving the reaction to Boombox while you're out on the road?
Well, it's been great because it took such a while to put the record out. We were actually calling it Chinese Fozzocracy for the longest time because it was, it took about 3 years to release. I mean, the first single, Nowhere to Run, came out in September of 2019. So to put it out in May of 22, it was very, very cool to finally get it released and get it out there and have people appreciate the record and enjoy it. So, I think you always are a little bit scared when you have a record that you've worked on for so long that you want to make sure that everybody likes it too. And when you hear that people do like it, and then, for example, I Still Burn just hit the top 10. It's our third top 10 single from Boombox, which is amazing, to think about. And it's still going higher. So it really is, we knew it was really important to put out a record that was just as good as Judas, if not better, because all the spotlight was on us after Judas became such a big hit and Painless following it up as well. So we really put the time into making sure the record was ready, making sure the record was right, and making sure that it would take us to the next level. And so far it has.
And if you haven't checked out the video for I Still Burn, I recommend checking it out. You kind of tie your two worlds together in the video. Shaul Guerrero, daughter of Eddie and Vicky Guerrero. How did that come about?
Well, it's funny. So every year on the Jericho cruise, we like having like a female rock and roll dance team sort of thing. And it was the Cherry Bombs one year, and then the Vaudettes, which is Shaul Guerrero. It's like burlesque. It's like rock and roll burlesque, I guess you'd call it. And they did a great job. So I put them on the cruise 2 years in a row. And then it wasn't even really my idea. We were just looking for someone to do some flame tricks and have, some of that sort of stuff. And our manager suggested the Vaudettes. And actually, when I showed up on set, I had forgotten that they were even involved. So to see Shaul and her team there was great. And they did an amazing job. It just took the whole video to the next level. Very, very cool.
You actually take some pride with recording music videos between all of them with I Still Burn and go back to Judas. And speaking of Judas, congratulations on the gold record.
Thank you.
Where do you have that displayed? I've always wondered, if you get a gold record, where do you display it?
If I could turn my camera around, it's right here on the wall.
Perfect.
Right? Like I can see it when I'm working. It's obviously my office, so it's right there. And it's really cool because there's a couple other, platinum albums and gold albums on my wall that people have given me. Stryper gave me a platinum, To Hell with the Devil, and my friends in Trickster gave me a gold record from their first album. But I took those down and put up the Fozzy one now, where it's prominent, right where it should be. And obviously just one of the greatest moments to have a gold record. And another cool thing is, you get to send a few out to people that have been friends of the band for a long time and allies of the band, and getting the reports that those guys have received them too. It's really cool, man, because it's one of those things when you're a musician, a gold record, a gold disc, as Ozzy used to say, is kind of the unattainable thing. And for us to have that, it really put us on a completely different level. And really legitimizes the band. For anybody that still has a problem with Fozzy because Chris Jericho is the singer, you're really grasping at straws now when we have a gold record on our wall.
I'm wondering, did Tony Khan get one of those gold records?
He did.
Considering you get to hear that song each and every week, a couple times each and every week.
He did get a gold record for sure. And like I mentioned, that's a total ally that we probably wouldn't able to have attained this gold status without Judas being played on AEW every week, like you said.
What's crazy is I had a chance to interview you. I had to have been 9 years ago, still with WWE. And I asked you if you ever wanted to use one of your songs as a theme song. And you answered me, "Oh, that would be pompous." Do you want to take back that answer this time around?
Well, I mean, I think it was more by necessity, because obviously I couldn't use Break the Walls Down when I started working in Japan because it's a WWE song, and nor would I want to. It's a different vibe. And that's when I just thought, let me try and use Judas, because we've been trying to do a tour of Japan for 20 years. And I thought, well, if I play Judas in the Tokyo Dome, they'll have to listen to it and maybe someone will book us. And they didn't, but it sure worked out a completely different way, just how huge it became when we started AEW. I thought, well, this Judas is perfect for my ring entrance. Let me see if I can use it in AEW. And contrary to popular belief, just because we wrote the song, we don't have the say. We still have to go through Sony. AEW has to pay for the rights. So it's really like, I think a lot of people think, well, just because it's Fozzy and Jericho's song that we can do whatever we want. Not the case. So there was some wrangling to get permission to be able to use it and get the rights fees for it.
And the reaction, just unbelievable from the fans. I don't think I've ever seen a theme song get quite that reaction.
No, I mean, it just became a thing a few years ago where people just started singing the words on their own. And we've even done it at times where the music gets shut off and people just sing it on their own a cappella. And I think it's become a very unique, cool part of the AEW presentation. To even when I turned heel a couple months ago from good guy to bad guy, we were going to stop using Judas because it gets such a great reaction And Tony Khan, my boss, is like, no, it's too important to the presentation of an AEW show. And I get that. So it's a cool thing that happened organically. And that's always the best thing in wrestling or anything, when it starts to build organically. And that's what the story of Judas has been all along. You know, if it's the biggest song we ever do, well, it's great to have that in our catalog. And we spend our time trying to write other tunes that are just as good, if not better. And some of them click and some of them don't. But like I said, when you have a song that's playing in NHL arenas and NFL stadiums and, you know, soccer stadiums in England, like Judas is, you never want to, you know, look that gift horse in the mouth, shall we say.
Hey, if Judas is your Enter Sandman, that's not a bad
I'll take
thing
it.
at all.
Absolutely. Because it sure did open the door. You know what I mean? Metallica's never had a bigger song than Sandman, but it sure put them on a different level. That's what Judas did for us.
Again, Chris Jericho and Fozzy going to be out at the Art Theater in Hobart on Friday, September 16th. General admission tickets, just $25 with limited VIP meet and greet. I suggest you go grab them. It's going to be a great show. I'm going to go ahead, if you don't mind, and ask a couple wrestling questions, because it's been a crazy week. So I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask. Any thoughts, controversy aside, of the retirement of Vince McMahon and just what he has done for your career?
Well, I mean, yeah, he was great to work for. I worked with him for almost 20 years, and I always enjoyed it. But, you know, I haven't worked for WWE for 5 years now. It's been a long time. So, you know, working with Tony Khan and AEW has kind of reinvigorated my love for pro wrestling. And I think I'm doing some of the best work in my career now. So I always look back on my time in WWE fondly, and I loved working with Vince. But like I said, will it change the business? Absolutely. Of course it will. How could it not? Will it change AEW's business? It won't really affect us at all, because we just kind of have really been concentrating on our own show and making sure that our stories and our matches are the best they can possibly be. And we'll continue to do that no matter who is in charge of WWE at the time.
That was going to be my next question. How would it affect AEW? You just answered me. Okay, yeah. So there's another match, a final match of somebody who's been kind of talking crap about you over the past couple weeks. I don't really want to talk about that. We're not here to promote that. But Ricky Steamboat was invited to be part of that person's last match and declined it because he wants his final moments in the ring to be remembered for his match with you back in 2009. How do you feel about that show of respect?
It's great. I mean, yeah, I had no idea about that, and I read about it probably the same time as you did. So I loved working with Ricky Steamboat. It was a blast. And to hear that, because he was one of my heroes when I was a kid, one of my inspirations to get into the business. It was Steamboat, Owen Hart, Shawn Michaels, and Randy Savage. Those are my four favorites. So for Steamboat to say that means a lot. It's very, very cool.
Excellent. In closing, Chris, when you're driving down the street and you're changing the stations on the radio, what are a handful of songs where you have to stop and you have to turn it up nice and loud?
Well, I'll tell you what, man, there's nothing better than having your own song played on radio. And I never realized how important rock radio still is to a band until we started getting played on rock radio. And it really blew the doors off of Fozzy, and we've become a radio band. We have 5 top 10 singles at this point in only 5 years. So it's been really, really huge for us to get that airplay. And like I said, anytime you hear yourself on the radio, because, you know, you can play your own music whenever you want, you know, put it on through Spotify or whatever, but to actually hear it on the radio, the timing of it to oh my gosh, it's on. This is amazing. It's still one of the greatest things of all time as a musician, as a music fan, you know, and as the lead singer of Fozzy, to hear that. So other than that, I mean, you know, whatever you can hear, I whenever that Greta Van Fleet Highway song came on, it was a good one. Or if you ever hear, you know, Battery, something by Metallica that you don't hear every day, that sort of stuff is always cool for me.
Well, you're speaking the Bears language over here, and it's always a pleasure anytime Fozzy gets to be played right here on 103.9 The Bears.
Yes,
Chris Jericho, I thank you so much for coming on. Again, you can check out Chris Jericho wrestling on Wednesday nights, AEW Dynamite on TBS, on commentary Friday nights, on Rampage on TNT. Talk is Jericho, host of that show. He gets to go on a cruise. When's that cruise again?
The Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea, the 4th one, the 4-leaf clover, is in February.
February on that cruise. And then Fozzy hitting the road in September, Friday, September 16th, the Art Theater in Hobart. Again, tickets just $25 for general admission. I suggest you check out Fozzy. I've been coming out to see you since way back when. I mean, whether it was Counts Vamped in Vegas or back in 2003, Peabody's Down Under in Cleveland. I've been there since the wigs and the fish.
It's a rock and roll party, man. We're excited about it. It's going to be a great show, and we're looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks for spending a few minutes today.
Cheers, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for your support.
All right. See you soon.
See you soon. Thanks, dude.
Take care. Thank you so much.